Hi everybody, thanks for joining me today. I am Carol from Practical Mystic. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a couple weeks now, and I'm finally getting around to doing it. I got all my ducks in a row. But I'm going to share with you my personal journey and why I'm such a staunch advocate of self-awareness, self-discovery, and knowing who you are and healing those unhealed portions of yourself. There was a time when I wasn't even aware of that part. Yes, I was born in a very non-traditional family as far as the openness of mysticism and tarot and astrology and tea leaf reading and all those taboos that I didn't have to worry about. Those were all modern day occurrences in my life with my grandmother and my mother and my aunts and everybody in my family. And I got on that road and became a tarot reader, and of course became a little aware of who I was through the path of transformation that is open to all of us when we begin a study of the tarot, the book of knowledge, transformation, the Fool's Journey. Then, of course, my interest and work in astrology, I realized a lot about myself, my personality self, a little of my soul, my challenges, my gifts, my obstacles, where I'm coming from, where I'm hopefully going. And the same is true with numerology. It gives you your desires and your challenges, and as well as again your gifts, similar to astrology in many ways. But something was missing, and what was that element that woke me up the most, shook me out of my comfort zone, if you will, as I became a reader, a professional reader? I noticed patterns in my clients, and that led me to start a little bit of research on psychology. You know, why are these people repeating these same things over and over again, and why is it what's the difficulty there? Well, funny as it may seem, it was, my own denial of myself and what the dysfunction in my own family heritage and what I was even created within my own life and my own personal family. And it is called dysfunction. Now, everybody's aware of that word. Dysfunction is said to be over 85% in all families. And statistically, it's growing each year. Looking at that dysfunction in and of itself, I realized that I was brought up with baggage as well. And what was I going to do with that baggage? Was I going to pass it on to my children? Of course, I was already playing it out in the dynamics of my family, my marriage, and it became very concerning to me that I owned this. And here I was, a tarot practitioner, tarot reading, doing psychic fairs, and listening to other people's stories. And yes, looking at the tarot, and the tarot would give us answers and solutions, and of course the intuition hopefully was pure to be helpful for my client. But then I found out that that wasn't always the case, because we have our own distortions in our personality. We the information that we are seeing in the cards and transferring onto our client is filtered through our own experience. So you can see where I'm getting. There is a lot going on there with having myself feel good about being the best vessel I could be in interpreting, as being a teacher, as being one who is helping someone else. The light bulb also went out a little bit more when I read this book, Children of Light, Children of Denial by Lynn Buis. In it, he talks about his journey into his awareness of the shadow. Now, of course, the shadow is a word coined by Carl Jung, psychologist, but before that it was known as the inner child, the wounded child, the child within. So this woke me up because in it he explains how the most spiritual teachers that he was on stage with, that have written books that all of us watch and are inspired by and learn from, are all like we are, unhealed healers. Now, we get into the spiritual, metaphysical, new age, self-awareness realm, consciously or unconsciously, to heal ourselves. And this book really opened my eyes that I needed to do my own work, so I recommend this very highly. Of course, he's written other books too. I wanted to share those with you. The Tarot and Transformation, Numerology and New Age, Numerology, Nuances in Relationships. You can see I like the guy. And my favorite, Forever Numerology, and it also includes master numbers. Again, Lynn Buis, B-U-E-S-S. So that was written back in 1990, I believe, and that's when I really began my work in the shadow. That's really when I began my work, because here I was also broadcasting and giving out information to massive people. So who was I to give misinformation or to not understand what the injunction is at the Oracle of Delphi, know thyself, where everything in esoteric knowledge is know thyself, because it is through knowing ourselves that we understand so much more. And if that is the truth, then we are better able to relate, identify with, understand, be grace, have grace for, surrender to, feel the pain, walk the talk of everybody out there that comes into our presence, comes into our lives, either to work with us as colleagues, as other healers, or come to us for guidance and for help. Now, the next book that I came across in 1998, which really opened eyes to other like minds, unhealed healers, is The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. Her title just tells you that. The light chasers are us. We're seeking the light, the new age. We are whole. We are the practitioners. We know about the chakras. We know about the Kundalini. We know about meditation. We know about all of these modalities that are supposedly healing ourselves. And we do. We do heal the patterns of our dysfunction if we come from an alcoholic family or a family of addictions. We do heal that possibly, but do we heal our shadow? And that's the area that addresses where we fall short. Why do we fall short of it? I can tell you honestly why. This is darn hard work. I was almost going to swear, but I didn't. But this is darn hard work. Our ego does not want to know that I can't blame mom and dad or my ex. My ego doesn't want to know that it isn't perfect. And my shadow is tired of me going out and getting a massage or a session with someone, and all of a sudden I'm clear, I'm good, I've released my shadow. What happens is the shadow says, really? You think that took care of me after 40 years of you denying me and you placating me and you stuffing me down and you not identifying with me, and you put on this beautiful mask that everything is happy and everything is love? And you know, I fell into that trap. We all fall into that trap. But guess what? We look at the reality and the repeated patterns and well, let me calm down here a little bit. I'm on a rant. When we become aware enough that we ask ourselves, what are we using as a behavior modification? And we ask ourselves, what are our coping mechanisms? Those are classified under addictions, and addictions can be as easy as what I believe mine is, which I buy books. Okay, I could say that I'm addicted to buying books. Or it can be very destructive as drugs and alcohol, our addictions. So let me backtrack a little bit more here, because here is another place. You know, my journey is like coming to these crossroads where there was a wake-up call. There was a light shining. Wake up, this is you. You need to know this. And one of them was when I volunteered to become a rape crisis advocate years ago. And I was trained to be a rape consultant. I was kind of the first hands-on. When unfortunately the rape victim would be brought to the hospital, I would be there to help. To consult, to help, and to do a rape kit if I needed to. But going back to why there was a red light there is in learning about rape victims and being a rape counselor and working with other rape advocates and being trained while I was at the crisis center. Maybe 6 months into working there, I noticed that in the main lobby and in consulting rooms, there was always a bowl of chocolates, okay? And my favorite was there. You know, Hershey's with almonds, and there was Snickers, and there was Reese's Cups, and there were Butterfingers, every kind of chocolate you can imagine. And when we got a call in at the crisis center, and back then it really was, I mean, there was a phone there. I had a beeper. I'm going back so many years ago where phones was called a bag phone. So whenever we had a call to a crisis, I noticed that many of us went and grabbed our favorite candy out of it while we were waiting, or I was going to the hospital, or while we were waiting for the victim and her family to come in. And I looked at that. And of course, today I'm aware of what chocolate does. Chocolate has within it tryptophan. Well, tryptophan is an amino acid. It's mood alterning. It is a serotonin uptake. So, of course, when you eat the chocolate, you're going to be elevated. You're going to feel better. It is mood alterning. So all of us unconsciously went to something that was going to help us cope with what was going to walk through that door, that emotion, that crisis, that pain, that suffering. It prepared us. So we all have some kind of way to cope, and they are in our addictive nature. Some of us go shopping, that's our therapy. Some of us eat chocolate. Some of us use sex, whatever that may be. It is part of what we need to heal. And that became very known to me, if you will, as I was learning about myself, my own coping mechanism, what I was bringing in to my own family, my own marriage. So let's backtrack a little bit more. I know I'm kind of going all over the place here. So where did I start? When I started reading the books about the dark side of the light chasers. I had already been working with dysfunction. Many of you may know that anyone who's been brought up in an alcoholic home or an addictive home, sometimes that addiction skips a generation, and we then see what psychologists talk about adult children. And I'll get into that a little bit more about the book that I feel is very instrumental in understanding that and explaining that. But I